Donald Trump launching a trade war that will cost consumers and hurt American businesses and potentially leave America isolated on the world stage is where we start today with the aforementioned Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. Premier Ford, thank you for being here. I saw those remarks. I read the coverage of it. Just tell us again how, first of all, back up and tell us how Trump's moves impact your constituents and impact us here at home.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Nicole. And I have to tell you, Canada loves the U.S. They love the American people. There's one person that's created this chaos, and that's President Trump. You know, President Trump had a mandate to come in and cut costs and create more jobs. That's a total opposite. Manufacturing plants will close, assembly lines will shut down in the auto sector within the next week, unemployment will go up, and inflation will go up, cost of gas will go up, and this is the last thing we want to do. We are your number one customer in the world, Canada. We buy more products than anyone. We buy 400% more vehicles than Mexico, 200% more than any jurisdiction in the world. And by the way, you know, you take the energy, the 4.3 million barrels that we ship down every single day to keep your economy going, take that off the balance sheet. The U.S. has a $56 billion trade surplus with Canada, and I have no problem with that. Ontario alone is the engine of Canada. We're the largest economic driver. If we were a standalone country, we'd be the third largest trading partner in the world to the U.S., Ontario alone. We're the number one trading partner to 17 states, number two to 11 other ones. And across Canada, we're the number one trading partner to 28 states. I want to ship the U.S. more electricity. I want to ship them more high-grade nickel. That 50% of your economy and your military relies on nickel, high-grade nickel coming from Ontario. We have more critical minerals than anywhere in the world. I don't want to go to China. I don't want to ship it out. But he keeps putting, these threats and trying to attack our families and our businesses. We'll have no choice. And I'm the first to say, let's tariff China. They're the problem, not your closest friend and ally. We up here in Canada, we find it ironic. We love the Americans, and here he is cozying up to Putin. You got to be kidding me. When we stood shoulder to shoulder with each other for a couple centuries right now, through tough times, and we were there for the Americans, and you've been there for us. So this is, as far as I'm concerned, Nicole, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. But we're going to get hurt, but the Americans are going to get hurt tremendously.
Let's go through some of the items and just help me understand and us understand the interconnectedness that makes this possible. You said this. Today I'm writing to every senator, congressman and woman, and the governors from New York State, Michigan, and Minnesota, telling them that if these tariffs persist, if the Trump administration follows through on any more tariffs, we will immediately apply a 25% surcharge on the electricity we export. We will not hesitate to shut off their power as well. Could the lights go out in some of those states where you supply electricity?
Well, that's the last thing I want to do, but I'm going to implement immediately 25% surcharge. We keep 1.5 million homes and businesses lit up in New York State, in Michigan, in Minnesota. I've talked to all three governors. And I have to apologize to the American people that we're going through this. This is totally unnecessary. We're your strongest ally. But to answer your question, yes, when our plants start shutting down and we have large unemployment lines and people are trying to pay their mortgages and put food on their table, I will use every single tool in our toolkit to fight back. And that's the last thing I want to do. Nicole, I love the Americans. I spent 20 years of my life in Chicago and New Jersey, and all Canadians love Americans. It's one person that's causing this problem. And it's unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. Let's continue building the two strongest nations in the world. I call it the AMCAN fortress. We have the critical minerals. We have the energy. We have the steel and the aluminum that you need. We have the lumber to build their homes. And he's going after it all. So what else what else can we do? We're going to start shipping it to countries around the world. And that's what we're going to do. We have more critical minerals than anywhere in the world right here in Ontario. So, let's work this out. Let's move forward, and let's be two great partners as we have been for a couple hundred years.
You ripped up Ontario's contract with Starlink. Explain
Yes.
that.
Well, we tore it up. I can't have anyone who's connected so deeply with President Trump trying to destroy our province and try to destroy our country. It's unacceptable. We're the largest purchaser of alcohol in the entire world. Ontario is. We have a liquor control board, so it all goes through the province. We ship up 3,600 products from the U.S. from 35 states. We have now cleared off all alcohol across all the shelves. And I just encouraged all our premiers, which they just agreed to, they're pulling all their alcohol off. So states like Kentucky, they're bourbon. They're going to be laying people off. They may be shutting parts of their plants down, which again, as far as I'm concerned, is unacceptable. We shouldn't have to be doing this whatsoever. I'm going to stockpile the high-grade nickel and sell it to the rest of the world. That China has the market cornered on it. 50% of your products that you manufacture nickel with in the military come from Ontario. That's stopped. I'm cutting off everything we possibly can. I don't want to do it. I'd rather do the opposite, shipping more high-grade nickel and more lithium and more cobalt and every other critical mineral that we have up here. But unfortunately, there's one person that should be held accountable, and that's President Trump.
Premier Ford, I have the governor of Kentucky on the program later in the hour. Just explain, I mean, I believe that the vast majority of the world's supply of bourbon is made in Kentucky.
Yes.
When you take all of the alcohol made in America, including all of the Kentucky-made bourbon off the shelves, what do you replace it with?
Well, again, we're going to have to go other places. Maybe they're going to drink some Canadian rye instead of the bourbon, right?
You have
Listen,
to drink something these days.
I love the governor of Kentucky. This isn't his fault. It's not the people of Kentucky's fault. It's none of the Americans' fault. There's one person doing this to the entire country, and we're both going to feel the pain. We're going to feel the pain, but when they start shutting down the assembly lines on the auto sector in the market, it picked up a little, but it's going to start tanking. The market hates uncertainty, as you know, and this is a fraction of the tariffs that we have. When I say a fraction, it's 1/5 of the tariffs from the federal government. Not to mention, I've cut off every single procurement in our province, over $230 billion that U.S. companies bid on, and they get rewarded. So those are all done. Everything is done until these tariffs get dropped. There's nothing that would make me happier than to move forward on the USMCA deal. I love the Americans. I love the U.S. Please, to the Congress men and women, to the governors, to the senators, Republican or Democrat, and by the way, none of them agree with it, behind closed doors. I've met with endless amounts of elected officials. Please contact President Trump and tell him this is crazy, absolutely crazy chaos he's created, which I've never seen before.
You are taking an approach with him that not a ton of people take to sort of confront his attempts to bully with strength. What do you and what do the Canadian people who I've seen boo in some instances at the anthem in their, I think, disappointment maybe with our change in leaders? What is this about, this fight with Canada, this talk about annexing Canada as the 51st state?
Something we're hurt. We love the Americans. We always believed that the U.S. is part of the family. We're like the little brother or little sister, and we've always had an excellent relationship. Go back to Ronald Reagan's quotes back in 1988 when he addressed the country on the radio. He said it very clearly. This is the worst thing you could ever do. Go around and promoting protectionism against your greatest friend and ally, and then waving the American flag. That's not right. That doesn't work. Both countries get hurt when it comes to this. But again, I'm going to apologize again to the American people. It's not you. We love you, but the president needs to stop the chaos that he has created personally.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford, we're going to turn to you again on this as it plays out. Thank you for your time today.
Well, God bless America and God bless Canada. Let's get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I want to bring into our coverage